What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fan? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench podcast network and channel, a holiday edition. And check it out for everyone who's tuning in. We thank you for supporting Behind the Bench, subscribing to the channel, helping to make the show the best that it can be. And let me give a shout out to the rest of the crew: Shy, Kelvin, KB Film Room, Big Dog Talk Sports. That's right. That's right. Well, it's kind of ironic. I didn't realize. I said, well, let me do a video about this. You know, when I say in regards to the NBA, regards to the LA Lakers, the Los Angeles Lakers, the purple and gold, when someone is drafted by this franchise to be a cornerstone level player, to me, that player in heart is always a Laker. Like during the 90s, after Showtime ended, you know, when Magic retired in 1991, then James Worthy retired in 1993. AC Green had went on to play for other teams, although he did return back to the Lakers in 2000 and was a contributor to the championship that we won that year with Kobe and Shaq leading the way, Kobe being Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. But when I think about that time, the 90s, Nick Van Exel, he went on to play for the teams like the Denver Nuggets and the Dallas Mavericks. In heart, he was always a Laker. Eddie Jones, he played for the Miami Heat and the Charlotte Hornets, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Charlotte Hornets, Miami Heat. In heart, he's always a Laker. That's just how I always roll. When Derek Fisher went to go play for Golden State for 2 seasons, after the 2004 season, he went to Golden State Warriors to play there for 2 years, and then he played 1 year for the Utah Jazz, who he actually helped reach the conference finals, the Western Conference Finals that year, with his leadership and savvy and ability to hit big shots, clutch shots in key moments. So, and I know this is a different time, man. Player empowerment, you know, players signing this place, that place, superstars leaving their teams, going elsewhere, requesting trades. You know, during there every 3-4 years, and you're a superstar. And I never lost sight of the fact that, well, first of all, I'm about to give a shout out to Julius Randle. Julius Randle, actually, he just turned 30 years old. And I remember when he was drafted in 2014, he was 19 years old when he was drafted, coming out of the University of Kentucky. And he actually, I remember that Kentucky Wildcat team. He helped, basically it was like a at-large bid team who made the NCAA tournament as an at-large bid team. And he led Kentucky to the Elite Eight round of that tournament. I remember watching him, man. The dude was tough. You know what I'm saying? So when we drafted him, man, you know, I was very excited. Number 7 pick. And it's ironic that he just turned 30 years old and he was given the number 30 to represent the Laker franchise. And I remember his first ever game, his debut game as a rookie, and he broke his leg, man. He broke his leg, and I never could see how the injury happened. It just looked like he was going up for a basket, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, he's grabbing his leg, and they say he broke his leg, but you never could tell how he actually got injured. But nonetheless, he basically missed his entire rookie season. And then the next 2 years, man, you know, he was trying to find his way, trying to find his game. And And then would turn out to be his final season, going into his would turn to be his final season, and L.A. when Coach Walton inserted him into the starting lineup. Then all of a sudden, man, he just broke through. He broke through. He started averaging 20 and 10. I said, he's a ride. He's a ride. But what I always appreciate about Julius Randle, man, he talked about his relationship with Kobe Bryant, man, and how essentially, he wanted to show Kobe, man, that, he was willing to wear that jersey with pride, and he stood up. He stood up to, many of his senior contemporaries. I'm talking about like, all-time great players in their own right. The Kevin Garnett's, the KGs, the big ticket. You know what I'm saying? And KG tested him, man, and Randle, he stood up to him, man, and KG backed off. And I remember that little that little back and forth between him and DeMarcus Cousins, Boogie Cousins. This was during the game where the Lakers faced the Sacramento Kings after the Kings just had opened up a brand new arena that they playing in now. And this was the year of Brandon Ingram's freshman year. And the Lakers was on their way to beating the Kings that game. And then Boogie Cousins, he walked over to the Lakers bench, and him and Randle was getting into it, man. Just a little, as Kobe Bryant would say, a little banter, And they both, Kentucky alumni, players for the university. And it was just so real, man. And, Randall was like, what's up, baby? What's up, baby? It was like that. It's like that. And then Boogie walked off. It wasn't like nothing where you're going to come to blows, man. It was just like, okay, Julius Randle let him know, man, I'm here, And Boogie, that's when Boogie Cousins was at the top of his game. I believe at that time he was the best center in the NBA, And for Randle to stand up to those type of players, man, that just showed, he was becoming the leader of that young core. Brandon Ingram gravitated to him, and later on Lonzo Ball and Kuzma and whatnot, Jordan Clarkson, and Randle in his last year, man. And I didn't even notice it until the season ended. He played all 82 games for this franchise. He did everything the franchise asked him to do. Got into the best shape of his career. He led the young core because he was the senior member of the young core. So I believe he and Clarkson were both drafted in 2014. And then I believe the next year they drafted D'Angelo Russell with the number 2 pick, and then Larry Nance Jr. And then in 2016 they drafted Brandon Ingram and then the Ivica Zubats. And then 2017, they went full tilt mode, and we brought in 4 draftees. So yeah, man. So really, man, we was on the average. We was drafting 2 new players a year, and then the year after that, in 2018, we drafted 2 more players, So, but he played all 82 games, man, and he was a large reason why the Lakers were number 2 in the NBA. And I didn't even realize this till I did some research, a couple months ago. The Lakers was that season, 2017-2018 campaign, they was number 2 in the NBA in rebounds per game. Number 2 in the league rebounds per game. Randle was a large reason as to why. So as he approached free agency, basically in to make a short story of it, he was let go to begin creating cap space to start this win now direction that the franchise has been in since the summer 2018. It was crazy about it. You're supposed to be in win now mode, but you're not winning. And what you did win, it was at the expense of a decade, which is why they're not winning now. But he was let go. And you know how we as fans, man, how we clamor for players to show effort in wanting to play as many games as possible throughout the NBA season. You know, you didn't really hear complaints about, players finding it difficult to play 82 games. You didn't hear all this talk about, decreasing the number of games per season. So when he played out 82 games, man, that's what I'm saying. It was like I was so used to watching him play. It wasn't like you was taking it for granted, but you feel confident that he was going to play. So when they said he played 82 games, I said, wait a minute, man. He did everything that this franchise had him to do. He was averaging 20 and 10. He a left-hander. He stands up to the competition, and we just let him walk. And right there, I said, okay, now, we're about to walk into a rabbit hole. That's about what's going to happen. And that's basically what's been going on. And like I say, when you start casting out your own players, you really have nothing. You have no identity. None. You don't have any. Because it's all outside players. And so when you start bringing in outside players, you really don't dictate the direction of the team. You didn't already thrown all the chips in. So Randle was undervalued. And see, that's the thing. It's a bad sign when young players become undervalued. Not necessarily veteran players who have been in the league a long time. And they may start aging. Okay, then you can say, okay, maybe they didn't have a run, you know what I'm saying? And they may have to accept a lesser contract to remain in the league. But when you start undervaluing young talent, that is going to be trouble lying ahead. So he was undervalued, underappreciated, and then depicted as the reason why he was let go, to justify letting him go. So I'm referring to Julius Randle. So he signs a contract, and he had to sign for a lesser deal. And what's crazy is he wanted to remain a Laker so bad, he was willing to accept the deal, paying him like $16 to $18 million a year. I remember it. There's been some reports that he was willing to take $13 million a year. So he wasn't trying to break the bank. He wasn't trying to get over on the franchise. You're not getting over on the franchise when you play out 82 games. Okay. So the onus was placed on him as to why he was let go, but that was the first thing from the truth, because I followed this whole dynamic since it all started. And I'm not going to throw no aspersions. I have no agendas, no motives, nothing. I'm calling it like it happened. So he signs with. But getting back to his relationship with Kobe, man, he talked about how Kobe Bryant, in a sense, toughened him up and said, this is what you got to do to start taking your game to the next level. And he talks about it constantly, how Kobe showed him how to work out, how to stay in tip-top shape. And Randle, until recently, when he was playing for the New York Knicks, now he's playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves after being traded there. He didn't miss games. He just suffered two freak injuries. One where one guy fell on his shoulder and caused his shoulder to dislocate last year, and then in the playoffs a season and a half ago, another guy fell on his ankle, and he was essentially playing on a broken ankle and had to have all-season surgery. But outside of that, doing this run with the Knicks, he was giving you, at least 80 games a year, But he signs a 2-year deal with the Pelicans, New Orleans Pelicans, to play with Anthony Davis. And I remember a lot of NBA journalists and insiders, saw them as potentially becoming the best front court duo in the NBA because AD was playing at the top of his game. He was coming off a strong playoff run where he was dominated in that first round when New Orleans swept Portland Trailblazers in the upset. Then gave Golden State a tough 5-game series. It was tough. That was a tough series except for that closeout game. And if Boogie Cousins, who was traded to the Pelicans mid-season that year, if he wouldn't have suffered an Achilles injury, I could see New Orleans easily advance to the conference finals. But nonetheless, AD and Randle start that season off with a 4-0 record. They was 4-0, 2018-2019 season. AD was set up to seriously be considered a league MVP. Randle, and what's crazy is when he signed with the Pelicans, I said based off of his last season with the Lakers, I said he's gonna average about 22 and 10. By season's end, he averaged like 21.8 and like 9.5 rebounds. Right, it was during there, right on the money. And if Anthony Davis had not requested a trade like he did, and we all know how all that went down, I won't rehash all that. New Orleans could have did something because they had other good players on their team too. But nonetheless, he signed a 2-year deal, and then after AD was traded to the Lakers, Randle said, "Well, I'm going to go elsewhere." So he betted on himself and signed with the New York Knicks. Now that first year was a struggle because he had to, kind of alter his game a little bit after the 2019-2020 season. See, when you're a young player, when you start jumping from team to team like that, it's a major challenge in really establishing yourself or trying to reestablish yourself. So, as they say, man, he go back into the well, man, and entering that 2020-21 season, the dude, man, you could tell, man, he was in like supreme shape, and that he was going to experience a career season, which he did. Became the first player since Larry Bird to average 24 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, while shooting 40% from the three-point line and 80% from the free throw line. And he helped lead the New York Knicks to the playoffs for the first time since Prime Melo. So we're talking about 2014 to 2015. So we're talking about 6-7 years. And he did that. He helped put the Knicks back on the map. Now they off and running now, but he was the key figure and turning the fortunes around for that franchise. And he was the most improved player that year. Okay, so he advanced to the playoffs for the first time in his career, and he struggled at playoff. First round against Atlanta Hawks, but the thing was, he was the only person on the Knicks, the only player on the Knicks who can create their own shot. This was way before Jalen Brunson got there. You know what I mean? Way before Jalen Brunson and all the other talented players they have on the team now. OG Anunoby, McCall Bridges, Josh Hart. Another member of the Laker young core, the real young core. So essentially, Atlanta double teamed him throughout the series, sometimes triple team him. And the second best player on the Knicks that year, behind Randle, was Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose was coming off the bench as the sixth man. So there was really no consistent number 2 player starting with Randle. So I'm not making an excuse. I'm just trying to explain what happened during that playoff. Okay, so and R.J. Barrett, if I'm not mistaken, was a rookie. And since then, he's been traded to the Toronto Raptors. He's turned himself to a darn good player. But nonetheless, Going to the next year, the Knicks, had a little setback there, dealing with a lot of injuries and whatnot. And then they bring on Jalen Brunson as a free agent. They traded for Josh Hart, and they begin to really upgrade their roster. The Knicks had a tremendous season last year, and Julius Randle suffered that separated shoulder by midway during the season, and he had to have all season surgery to the shoulder, and he missed the remainder of the season as a result. Now, if he had been healthy, along with playing with Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, the postseason Josh Hart had, and then other players that they just traded for, OG Anunoby, he was hurt, he suffered an injury. And then Mitchell Robinson was out. If they had been healthy, that team is going to the conference finals. But nonetheless, like I said, I'm not a fan of the Knicks, and I'm not sure how most Knicks fans feel about Randle. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, all I know is he led that franchise to the playoffs for the first time in like 6-7 years since prime Carmelo Anthony. And that's saying a lot. What? They decided to trade him to the Minnesota Timberwolves, where he's now playing with Anthony Edwards. And they're off to a slow start. They are struggling. No doubt about it. And the Knicks have off to kind of like a somewhat of a slow start. Not as much as the Timberwolves, but nonetheless, they traded for Karl Anthony Towns. Okay, so both teams, their chemistry is off right now. With the new additions. I'm surprised that both teams agreed to that trade. I thought Randle should have stayed in New York and Karl Anthony Towns should have stayed in Minnesota, because Minnesota went to the conference finals last year, and New York was one game away from advance to the conference finals in the East. Like I said, they had been healthy, they would have beaten Indiana, hands down. It's not even a question. But nonetheless, when I look at Randle, as I look at Kyle Kuzma, as I look at Brandon Ingram now, I look at them players, man, the true cornerstones of the franchise. And when it comes down to it, number one, they never wanted to leave. And number two, if the Lakers were to regain control of their franchise and got rid of all this nonsense and got rid of all this riffraff, and what I'm saying, gain control of the franchise to where they got to say to themselves, man, okay, we threw all our chips in already. We've thrown all the chips in 6 times over. And it seems like that not only are they falling short of expectations, but they're digging deeper down the rabbit hole to where when this so-called win now pursuit is done, they're going to be done for a very long time. But I believe this would be a dream scenario for me. And I know it's not going to happen. But like I said, the saddest part about this whole situation is you draft all these young players. After a transcendent figure for the ages retires in 2016, Kobe Bean Bryant, the late Kobe Bean Bryant, who represented your franchise for 20 years. So when a player represents your franchise for that long, eventually you will have to start over. It happened to the San Antonio Spurs. Although San Antonio has improved, from last year, they off to a good start for them. I think their record is like, what is it, 9-9 or something like that? So they basically a 500 team with a second year of Victor Wembanyama. Everybody got to start over. Houston had to start over after James Harden requested to be traded. It took them about 3-4 years. Now the Houston Rockets are in second place in the Western Conference. But they building with young talent, and they brought in some key veteran free agents to anchor that young talent, not to take over, but to anchor, because your own players ultimately is going to dictate where you go. Ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, your own players are going to dictate ultimately where you go. Okay. And how long of a run you're going to have. Okay. So To have young players like this, man, and you cast them all away. And this is the only franchise that's been led to do this in the history of professional basketball. When I look at Randle, when I look at Ingram, I pick up on their signals and their body language, man. They don't have no choice in the matter per se, in terms of them being let go and being traded. But in their heart of hearts, they're still Los Angeles Lakers, man. And the only reason that they were traded and let go is because they brought the Hurricane to the franchise, and the way he operates is the antithesis of real team building. The total antithesis. Otherwise, they never would have traded him and let him go. I guarantee every NBA fan out there, whoever tunes in or whoever may dispute that, if they never brought the Hurricane to this franchise, they never would have let that young core go. On average, Ingram, Randle, Lonzo, maybe Lonzo don't suffer the injury that he's been suffering, because we had a very excellent training staff at one time before she was casted out because she was scapegoated because one of the main superstars on the team got injured in the playoffs, and they threw her under the bus. But nonetheless, she was thrown under the bus, I'll put it that way. But at the end of the day, they were destined to be Lakers, man. See, that's the thing. What the Lakers are doing now, since summer 2018, that's not destiny. That's not destiny because of too much chaos. Destiny has a definitive identity, man. Like when you like Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was meant to be a Laker. When I first saw Kobe playing high school, Lower Merion, and this was during his junior year, not his senior year, when I first watched him play, man, I was awed. I was like, man, this dude got pro game, and he literally he played like a professional basketball player, not because of his athleticism, but because of his game. You see what I'm saying? So when I first saw him, man, I just really embraced the whole. I was just really peeping his game, man. I was so awed by what he was doing. I said, man, he gonna be a Laker. This even before Jerry West. The word about Jerry. The word dropped that Jerry West was looking to, eventually, drafting Kobe Bryant. That's what you call destiny. Michael Jordan. The convention was, during the time Jordan was drafted in 1984, that you had to have a great center. Which, I mean, look, for the most part, that's been the history of professional basketball for the most part. And they was expected to either draft Hakeem Olajuwon, who was the number 1 pick, Sam Bowie out of the University of Kentucky was number 2 pick by the Portland Trail Blazers, and then the Bulls selected Michael Jordan. So when you look at how his career played out, you can sit there and say to yourself, man, it was meant for him to be a Chicago Bull. It was meant for Magic Johnson to be a Laker. It was meant for Larry Bird to be a Boston Celtics, because they had long definitive runs. There's a true story there. There's a true story there. What's been going on these past 6 years, that's not a true story to me. It's like tabloid. It's like tabloid. It's chaotic. It's chaotic. So, like I said, man, Julius Randle could have been a leader of this team. And when I always saw him as a better offensive version of Draymond Green. Could facilitate left-handed, could rebound, had nuance to his game. He was tough. He didn't back down. So I always saw him as a more offensive laden version of Draymond Green. Now, Draymond Green is the better defender, no doubt about it. I give him that. But I mean, Randle, he gonna play tough where he gonna get rebounds. So he playing some defense to get the rebounds, but it just turned overall ability. That's who I saw Julius Randle being. So when they let him go, man, that was a huge blow to me, because I'm like, wait a minute now. I've never seen nobody let go of a young guy into the last year of his rookie deal, play all 82 games and averaging 20 and 10 after he inserted into the starting lineup, and we let him walk. Man, that threw me for a loop, man. I said, it's not. Here come Here come the rabbit hole. Here come the rabbit hole. So like I said, man, was lost out of this, man. In closing, Randle, that's one of them guys, man, where if the franchise would have stayed away from the hurricane, he could have been a bridge from Kobe into a step entering that phase of the beginning of a new era. The torch being passed from one Laker great. Who knows what Randle could have become as a Laker, wearing that jersey, And like I said, I say for the most part, all of them, man, have established themselves, in a way that you really couldn't foresee them being so young, and they have the wherewithal to maintain a focus to achieve the best of their ability. But I believe they would be even greater and be way better playing for the Lakers than where they are now. But like I said, the sad part about it is we'll never know. We'll never get to know. And to me, the franchise sold itself short. When you go this route like this, man, and you scrambling every year, hiring coaches left and right, every day. I mean, literally every day. When I say every day, I mean every day. There's talk about a blockbuster trade being made. Although they done made two blockbuster trades over the span of 2 years when they got AD and then Russell Westbrook. And I just think we'd be better off, man. We had our real team, man, and you believe in what you're doing, and I think you would surprise yourself and you would exceed expectations. But I look at Randle, man. He's in Minnesota now, and he's trying to make the best of a situation that once again he has no control over. But at the end of the day, I know his heart is in L.A., man. But he's not gonna say it. He just turned. He's 11 years in the league now, but he should not have had to sign with the Pelicans when he did. You see what I'm saying? And if he would have been allowed to be the leader of this team moving forward, he would not never decide to play for the New York Knicks. And there's nothing against those franchises. It's just about the situation. But like I said, man, I just want to give a shout out real quick. Just give a backdrop on, like I said, I'll always, and I'm not saying they perfect players. I'm not saying that, but they never got a chance. I've never seen in a situation where a team is starting over where you bring in a whole bunch of players where they were not given a chance. Like even the Phoenix Suns, they was at the bottom of the heat. DeAndre Ayton, number one pick of the, I think he was number one pick of the 20. I want to say, was that the 2018 draft? Maybe 2018 draft, 27. I think it was 2018 draft. And they had just drafted Booker in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. McCall Bridges, 2017. Cameron Johnson. And they stayed with him. And then they brought in a veteran player like Chris Paul to help lead them. And then next thing you know, because of that chemistry that they had, because they was coming on strong the year before they brought on Chris Paul. That, and I'm sure that's the reason why Chris Paul asked to be traded there, because he saw the talent that was down there in Phoenix. And they went to the finals. In 2021, had the league best record in 2022 before they got upset in the second round to Dallas, mainly because they didn't feature DeAndre Ayton the way they should have been featuring him at the center spot. So what I'm saying is, man, you're always give yourself the best chance to succeed when you build with your own. And of course, free agency is there to fill a need or to take your team to the next level. But it's always going to start off with your own players. It's always going to start off with your own players. But the Laker franchise has been inverted to where you're relying on outside players to generate your success. And that's why they've been, scrambling these last 6 years, where if they would have stayed the course, man, I'm telling you, man, maybe one day a Randle type player or Ingram, you never know. Maybe one of them players could have had their names lifted in the rafters. You know what I'm saying? But the sad part about it is we'll never get to know. But other than that, I just want to give a shout out to Jay Randle. And as he just turned 30, as the same jersey number that was given to him when he was drafted by the Lakers in 2014. But I just want to drop that nugget. Until next time, this is JB for BTB Behind the Bench.